Hey, welcome to the Drep and Stone podcast, a podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
Kyle, I pushed the wrong button.
That's okay.
Yeah, because like the intro that we hear normally fades away like everybody else hears. Mm-hmm. I did not hit that button.
Oh, it's just going.
It's just going to go. Like, so it's going to be like the whole Joaquin Carud song.
Right.
I mean, I can listen to it.
Yeah, it's on one of my playlists.
It legit is on several of mine, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is really good stuff. It's just kind of like, good vibing music. Hey, man, how's it going?
So good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What you been up to lately?
Just some final preparations leading into the summer.
Ooh. If I remember correctly, something that happens every summer for you lately, you battle about 20,000 gallons worth of water.
I don't know if it necessarily has always hit it the summertime, but yeah, I do.
My
I do
recollection
like to
is yes, it has.
battle that pool.
Tell me about it.
This year?
Yeah.
It was this year's issue was not that big of a deal. It ended up being so I have a saltwater pool that it has a chlorinator cell that automatically turns the salt into chlorine.
Yep.
And that stopped working one day. Went over, was doing my normal upkeep of the pool, was cleaning that cell. When I put it all back together and turned on the system, the cell was no longer working. It said it had no power. Turns out it just blew a fuse, but it was just really bad timing because it was right before we went to New York. Mm-hmm. And when I got back, I was sick and had a fever for a couple of days. So by the time I finally got to the pool to repair it, or called a guy to come over to repair it, it had already turned a lovely shade of lime green. But luckily,
isn't that crazy? Like how fast that happens?
It happens real quick. Yeah. I mean, it'll you've got it jacked up with chlorine, and I have like a little floater that you can throw chlorine tablets in there, and I put that in there and
just hope and prayer.
Fingers crossed. Like we got this trip booked. We got to go. Luckily, like once you get everything going again, it almost not quite as quickly as it can turn green, but it'll clean right up.
Yeah.
Once you get the chemistry all correct.
Like my entire experience with pools is with other people. My entire experience.
It's the OPP.
Yeah, it's
other people's pools.
Other people's.
You down with OPP?
I'm down with OPP. It's other people's pools, absolutely. And my entire experience has been that, and everything I know about a pool tells me I want nothing to do with the pool.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of like owning my own boat, and then I'm like, nah, like all that upkeep and all that work, and like, nah. Nah, I'm
not going to be good at it.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's different. It'd be different.
It's absolutely that. I'm not going to be good at this.
1,000%. Like, I'm all for it if it's at your residence.
Sure.
Although I say that, and I don't think I'll ever have a pool at my current residence. Like, I just don't think I'd ever be able to talk myself into it ever again. But it would not be as big of a deal because it's always right there. And if there's routine maintenance that you need to do, you just step outside, you do it, and you come back in. Like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Whereas,
the pool
that I currently own that I always wage war with is 15 minutes away. And even though that's not that long of a span, it's also a bit of a mental block of like, it's 15 minutes over there, it's 15 minutes back, it's doing whatever I'm doing. Like that's going to end up being 2 hours.
How often does this pool get used?
I have no idea, but from my immediate family, from me, my wife, my 2 kids, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. Sadly.
Listen, I can grab a shovel and meet you over there. We can take care of this in about 7 to 8 weeks.
We won't fill it up by creating a same size hole at another spot in your yard.
This is Florida. There's sand everywhere. It'll be fine. It'll work itself out.
Just all settle down.
Right.
On an average, so that the backyard just 2 feet lower.
You walk out and you step down like, whoa, what's going on? Well, I had to do a pool.
Yeah, well, I had to fill in a pool and just took a scoop of dirt every so often.
Called my losses, and then just here we are.
There we are. Yeah. No worries.
Hey, you want to drink something?
Yeah, always thirsty.
Good. Well, what you got?
I've got a bottle of scotch.
I'm good.
Well, I mean, I figure we're headed to that general area of the world soonish.
Yeah, actually, so, really soonish.
You know, and I'm always in the mood for a scotch.
Me too. So I used to believe that scotches were like just a fall winter kind of thing, but that's before I was educated.
Yeah.
Now I'm educated, and I think scotch is in whenever you feel like opening that bottle kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely used to conjure the same for me. Whenever I would have that first sip of scotch, it'd take me right into, winter.
Sure.
But
we also live in Florida.
Yeah, and I'm starting to, it's not doing it for me anymore.
Like winter?
No, just it doesn't take me to that specific
I got you
anymore. The vibe for me now is just like, yep, that's scotch.
It does for me when I have gone for long periods without having it.
Right.
Like I'll go through stages, and we've talked about this. I'll go through stages where like I'm only drinking rye.
Yep.
And then I'll go back to a bourbon. I'm like, holy crap, this is sweet. And hello, old friend.
Yeah.
And the same for scotch. Like I'll go through periods of I won't drink anything peated, and then I get a pop of peat, and it's like, whoa,
boom,
hello, winter hanging out by a campfire.
Yeah.
But it's only that like first sip. After that, it's like, yeah, I like it, but
drink it up.
Yeah,
I just finished a bottle of the Talisker.
Yeah.
That I got last summer.
Ooh.
On the cruise that we were on. That one I think got better and better and better the more I drank it.
Was that the regular 10 or the Dark Storm?
Regular 10.
Cool.
Delightful. Just delicious.
I know I had a pour out of that, but I don't remember it. Did we? I don't think we did it on the podcast.
I think we had it in that smoky scotch tasting.
I believe you're right.
I think it was included in that.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, just so good.
All right, so what'd you bring us?
So I brought a bottle that we picked up that we've always been fans of.
Yeah.
The Lagavulin.
Oh, yes.
Classic standard bearer of smoky scotch.
Yeah. I say Lagavulin as a whole, I'm really surprised that the price has not gone up as much as it has with other scotches, which tells me that the Lagavulin, around here anyway, Lagavulin generally ranges anywhere between 95 and let's say 115. I know that's a big span, but that's normally what you can find it. But even here in the last year and a half, it's still in that price range.
Right.
Like other scotches have gone up about $10, but Lagavulin seems to be pretty solid.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just because they were already up there.
I was gonna say, like, they're like, can we charge $135 for this?
Are people gonna pay $125, $130 for this?
Right. Anyway, so I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And what you said, it's a what did you say, a flag bearer?
Yeah, I feel like it's a standard bearer for the smoky scotch.
Like what kind of bear?
Probably a black bear.
When you think standard bear, you think black bear?
Yep, basic general bear.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go full grizzly.
Well, see, I think size of black bear, but I think color grizzly.
So just brown bear.
No, because brown bear is a grizzly bear.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, teddy bear?
That's probably, I think a poo.
Winnie the Pooh bear.
Yeah. That's probably more what I think of.
Pooh bear.
But living in Florida, luckily we don't have those grizzlies.
That's true. Gray bear? Is that in Europe?
I don't know. Gray bear?
Gray bear.
That sounds like a wizard name from a fantasy novel.
Yeah. What's that one? Not Gandalf, not Saruman, that other weird
Radagast?
One. Yeah, Radagast. That's it.
Gray bear. Radagast turned into
smells like scotch. Just look at that guy. Scotch and bird shit.
That's a candle right there.
You got something, man. Something's been sitting on your shoulder for too long.
What is Radagast the Gray? Is he? I think he's the gray.
No, I think he's the brown.
He's the brown. You're right. Yeah. What does Radagast the brown smell like? Scotch, bird shit, and pipe smoke.
Boom, pipe tobacco. That's it.
Oh man, yeah. I had that as a candle.
Yeah, I bet it smells like Tolkien. Tolkien-esque.
Okay, so we've got Lagavulin. Which Lagavulins do we have?
So we have had on the podcast before. We've done normal Lagavulin.
Yep.
Not normal. We've had the 16, which is kind of like the normal, but
there's another normal.
Well, I feel like 16 is too high a number to be normal.
I think that's Lagavulin.
I mean, I don't disagree. But I feel like there's like a younger age statement.
I know that they've made 8s and they've made 11s and they've made some things. But I think
that's what you if you order it somewhere, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, okay.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it seems like the 16 is just like the basic.
Yeah. Which is saying something.
Yeah, which is just kind of wild.
Yeah.
But anyway, we featured the 16.
Yep.
And we featured a few other ones. We've featured the Nick Offerman edition bottles.
Yeah, the straight up Nick Offerman.
Well, we've done all of them. We featured every version that there's been, I think.
Oh, I think you're right. No, yeah, you're right, because we did
The original one was with a pairing against the 16.
You're right. Yep.
And then we featured the Guinness cask.
Correct.
And now the most recent version is a new one. It's called the Charred Oak cask.
Ooh.
And it had a really cool box. It had like flames and stuff all over it. So, maybe it's a little extra smoky.
Ooh.
And it'd be cool if we had, one of the Guinness cask, because that one was so good. I think that one was our favorite so far of the Nick Offermans. It'd be cool to like compare it to that one, but I finished my bottle long ago.
I've got news.
What's that?
Guess what I have?
A bunion?
I do not.
No. I don't know. What do you have?
I've actually got a bottle of the Guinness Cask Edition.
No kidding.
I know. It's one that like you bought for me because we bought the bottles at the same time.
Right.
I
No kidding.
Yeah. I have an open mine.
No shit.
Yeah, and for no reason. Like I just never opened it.
Had it?
Yeah. I had it with you. We had actually like have that bottle together, and I was like, cool.
Good.
And just didn't open the other one. So guess what?
Hey.
We should open the other one too.
Yeah, let's do them together. That'd be a fun little experiment there.
So we've got a bottle of regular Lagavulin here too.
Yep. Kind of wet the whistle on the Lagavulin profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then so what we're really featuring here is the charred oak cask.
Yeah.
Okay. But we've got the others, so why not pair it together?
Why not?
That's a question I'm asking.
It'd be silly not to.
I agree.
Hey, just because we haven't done Lagavulin in a while. General thoughts. You say Lagavulin. What's your general take on the whiskey?
A little salty, a little briny, not as heavy peat as like I used to think.
Yeah.
And really, really friendly and warm.
Yeah.
You mentioned the standard bearer of just like this kind of scotch, and absolutely.
I don't think I've had regular Lagavulin since that tasting that we did for your friends that came over, and we did a little. I think we did like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we did.
Like I think you had Lagavulin, and I think that's the last time I've had straight Lagavulin.
That's about a year ago, because it was like midsummer.
And like
year.
so, in my head, my recollection of Lagavulin is touch of smoke, not heavy smoke. I feel like it leans more into the fruity floral range than some other peated scotches. Not as aggressive as like Lafroig, and in that general direction, it's a little bit more friendly.
Agreed.
But still enough peat that it's like smoky.
Yeah, not aggressive is correct, because like when you think of a peated scotch, especially someone who likes peat,
right?
This is not something that you like.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not acclimated to peat, it's gonna shock you. Absolutely, but it's not something that I even put in the same kind of category as Lafroig or like the Highland Park cask strength or the Highland Park Gulf Coast edition. Like those have much more peated characteristics
for sure.
Yeah.
What's the proof again on just regular 16?
Regular 16 is 86. Yeah, regular 16 is 86.
Okay.
Which is interesting because the 11 year, the Offerman editions, they come in at 46. So they come in at 92.
Right.
You're playing with a little bit more proof points on the Offerman edition, which I think obviously less age, but more proof.
Yep.
Yep. Shall we open it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to point out, like I want everyone to hear the difference. This is the regular Lagavulin 16.
Yep.
This bottle is little less than halfway.
Yeah, just past halfway.
Yeah. And so I'm going to open it, and I want everybody here to witness the melodious greatness. You heard that?
Yep.
Of a bottle that's just a little bit less than halfway full. And then I want everyone to hear a bottle that is brand new, because we talk about this, but we like don't always point it out. I mean, we say like a fresh cork pop, but I want everybody to hear the difference.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
For science. Not bad.
Go ahead and open up that charred oak cask, and I want to hear that one.
You ready for this?
I am. Yeah.
Delightful.
There is nothing like that sound, man.
Yeah.
Nothing like
crisp. Where like the other one's just kind of more of a thung.
Yeah.
Just that.
All right. So before we get into the oak cask.
Yep.
You want to refresh yourself with the regular Lagavulin?
Yes.
I already poured it into glasses for us.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. A little swirly swirl, a little roly roll. I feel like it's been a second since I've had anything in the Glencairn.
Really?
Yeah. Well, here lately, I've been slowing down on buying like a bunch of new stuff because I know what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
So I've actually kind of done a little bit more exploration into some other things. Like I bought a couple new gins. So this is actually one of the first whiskeys I've had, scotches I've had in a minute.
In a while.
And it's been a minute.
That's cool. Nice color. Golden honey.
I always, every time I pour it into the glass, I'm always a little deceived because the bottle is just dark as hell. And I expect like oil black liquid.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
What you got knows?
Just lovely floral scotch.
See,
Touch of peat.
Where you're saying floral, I get like dark honey and like leather.
Yeah, I mean, like the floral that I'm going for is like it's some sort of flower off of like a fruit tree. It's like a citrus blossom,
Totally,
or like an apple blossom.
What's that vine that like grows everywhere around here?
Like honeysuckle, even.
Honeysuckle or jasmine. Jasmine.
Yep.
All right, shall we?
Yep.
That's where the briny comes in for me.
Yep.
Like the beginning of the palate, and then it washes into bitter peat.
Yep.
In like a really friendly way.
Yep. Very coastal, but way more peat on the palate than I remember.
I agree. The peat comes through and shines through on the palate for sure.
Yep. It's like licking a rock that was on the coast, and it's got that salt, dried up salt layer on it.
The rock's done a workout, and he's run on the coast, and you just go up and like, excuse me, Dwayne, can I see your bicep?
Ew. Tastes like pineapple.
I see what's happening in here.
Pineapple and margaritas. Yeah. I mean, it's still like it's frustratingly good. I don't want it to be as good as it is, I think, each time that I have it. And each time I have it, I'm like, damn it, that's good.
I agree completely, but it's also one of those things, like, I think it's so readily available around here. I mean, it's at that price point that causes a bit of a pause, but it's so readily available around here that I'm rarely, like, searching it.
Yeah, you don't have to be on the hunt for it.
No, not.
You can get it everywhere because it's $100.
Right.
You know, like every liquor store is going to have it. They're never going to sell out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's $100.
But it's also one of those things that, like, I think I've maybe ordered it out once.
Sure.
Because it's also like, I know it, I love it, I'm all for it, but like, I got a bottle at home.
Yep.
I don't need it.
Yeah, no, same. I don't think I've ever ordered it out. I think I've only had it out of a bottle that I've owned. Or at a bottle you've owned.
Or a bottle I've owned. Yeah, man, it's so damn solid. It is quintessential peated scotch.
Yep.
It's all the notes that you like. It's interesting. There are things to pick out from it. It's well rounded. It's not bitey, but there's enough of a bitter. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like deep. It's got a lot of layers to it that you can pick out different things and focus on different things, and it's got all of it.
Yeah, it's damn good.
Yep. Faux show.
All right, so like we said, we have the Guinness Cask edition, but I think what we should do, since we've familiarized ourselves, we should just jump straight to the oak cask.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then towards the end-ish of the episode, we'll circle back around and pair it against the Guinness Cask, which, like you said, was a favorite in that episode.
Yeah.
All right, shall we?
Let's do it.
Ooh, already I noticed a difference. Man, I love that first pour too. Ain't nothing that goes glug, 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 glug.
So sultry.
Sultry?
Sultry.
What's the first difference you notice?
I mean, I would think you're suggesting color.
I am indeed.
I would say it's a shade or two lighter.
I agree.
Got to be a little younger, so that checks out.
But it is higher proof.
That does, yeah. That is also true.
You know, I've tried to do some research. I've tried to parse out like exactly what's going on. Like, why are there scotches that are 16 years old that are lighter? And why are there scotches that are 5 years old that are darker? I don't really know.
And two, this being like an extra char,
right?
Kind of a thing. You'd think it
you
might
think
have
it'd be
some more
a
color.
little bit dark. While we're rolling it here, you got any bottle words, or there's a whole damn box novel?
We always talk about that with good old Offerman.
You read whatever you're comfortable with reading, not the government label, please.
Everyone knows that there are 7 kinds of food. All of the fine people on this planet agree that the most gratifying thing a body can put in his or her mouth at any given time is one of the 7 delicious foods. Occasionally, you might hear of a dissenting opinion on this matter, some befuddled reader of books arguing for a well-balanced or even sensible menu, if you can imagine. But just look at how utterly crackers those words look when written together. What's next? Aerobic exercise? Preposterous. Of the legendary 7, bacon, eggs, pancetta, scotch eggs, fish and chips, beef, and steak, one food stands head and shoulders above the rest, and that, of course, is steak.
Oh.
The ultimate food. The cream of the cow. Figuratively speaking, of course, since cows are also produce literal cream. Furthermore, all agree that the ideal mouthful of steak is approximately medium rare.
Okay.
With a well-seared, flavorsome crust. And one of the best ways to possibly improve this gustatory delight is by washing it down with the ideal dram of Lagavulin 11-year that we have curated specifically for this task.
Oh, damn, I forgot the steaks.
We collected charismatic casks of American white oak with a few European oak thrown in for culture, all of which had previously held either scotch or wine.
Ooh.
The cask interiors were shaved down and then heavily recharred before we filled them with our golden 11-year single malt whiskey for maturation.
Interesting.
The result, which you very fondly hold in your enviable grip, even now, is sheer alchemy. It suggests some peat, chocolate, treacle on the nose. What's treacle?
It's a dessert.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a hint of red berry and a creaminess that just waves hello in passing. The berry notes, however, pull up a chair in the mouth, complemented by pungent, peaty, woody, and spicy tones on the palate, infusing a pleasing chocolatey sensibility. One could argue that the glowing, lingering, spicy, and simple sensational finish are precisely the pinnacle of what human evolution was leading up to this entire time. It's like a mouthful of Scottish poetry, pairing superbly with that steak, obviously, but you'll find it just as pleasing with any of the 7 delicious foods.
Speaking of mouthful, holy hell, man.
Nick Offerman.
That was a lot.
It's a little doodle down here of him fishing and catching a steak.
Yep, I see that. Why do they have the caloric information? Thank you, Diageo. I appreciate that. Wow, that is a lot.
That's fun. I didn't realize that. I wonder what the original one was. But like on the Nick Offerman, the Guinness cask, it's him and his dad. And I remember that being like the relationship for that one was him and his dad. And now this one's got him and the steak. Pretty funny.
That's cool. That was a lot of words.
That was a lot of words. All right.
Basically, it goes well with steak.
Yeah, or any of the 7 delicious foods.
All right. Rolling it around, man.
It looks thick.
It does. It like the legs on this thing, you swirl it in the Glencairn, the legs are just like slow.
Yeah, it looks
down.
oily. On the nose. Wow.
Banana.
Yeah, I'm getting like caramel apple.
Yeah. It reminds
definitely some banana.
It reminds me of like a Hefeweizen. Like it's like banana and clove.
It's like you got some bananas Fosters right next to a bowl of Apple Jacks.
It's an Irish whiskey. Like that's what it reminds me of. That like shortbready notes of Irish whiskey, which I know it's probably sacrilege to both at this point.
Man, like heavy bananas Foster.
Yeah. And I get like that charred caramely nature of the bananas Foster. It's like it's that peaty charred nature. It's interesting that it mentions that they take those casks and they shave them down. So you're basically removing that first layer on the inside,
the older char,
which is also where a lot of the flavor is going to come from. And then you re-char it. So like you're just charring, I guess, new wood to reinvigorate the char.
You can't re-char char.
No, correct. But like what I'm saying is like, but if you put it into already charred barrels, that's where all the flavor is going to lie. I see. Okay, so they're betting on the liquid has
fresh char.
Yeah. Okay. Bananas Foster's is totally right.
Ooh, touch of cinnamon there.
That's all I get. It's just like fresh. Like what is it when they bring it to your table and they light on flambe? Yeah. That's like that's what it is. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's crazy different.
On the palate, though, it is very reminiscent of regular Lagavulin.
With a little extra spice.
And a lot more thickness. Yeah. Holy crap, is that viscous.
Yeah,
that is oily AF.
Got like cinnamon spice.
Oh, yeah. Yep. On the sides of my palate. That's where I'm getting all that cinnamon.
Man, and then like the bitter on the aftertaste is a very sharp bitter. It's not loud, but it really it's like biting on the sides of my tongue.
Is this sludgy? This is sludgy. It's like milkshake thick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I meant.
I was thinking sludgy like was something to do with like muddy boots. I don't know. Stepping in sludge.
Like, God, it is so thick.
Man, it's surprising how spicy it is.
Yeah.
Like all over my palate, like even the back of my throat.
I'm gonna say like pumpkin pie spice, like some nutmeg, a little bit of clove in there.
Man, like the dessertiness of it is on point.
Yeah. I recognize it, like, you know, a lot of peated scotches tend to lean dessert. And like people like to have a good scotch as an after dinner drink.
Right.
But this is dessert.
Yeah. I feel like usually with a peaty scotch, the peat is at the forefront.
Yep.
I don't get the peat until the back end on this.
Yeah, it's
Like after that spice dials down and my palate starts to kind of rehabilitate itself from that spice, that's when the peat is like, oh yeah, there's peat in this too. It just kind
yeah.
of sits there on the aftertaste.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's not better than the 16, but it is adjacent to it.
It's related.
You know, you can absolutely see the threads between both.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely way more aggressive. Like this is a much more punchy
Punchy's
scotch.
right. Yeah, Punchy's
You can
totally
definitely
right.
see how they're like connected and how they are from the same thing.
Absolutely.
But the 16 is definitely way more friendly and approachable. This one's like you kind of have to tiptoe a little bit.
Yeah, this one
Be
feels
careful
like
around this one.
part of an experiment.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those, like, we made this batch. We might not ever do it again, but here you go. What?
Cool.
I'm not. You know, now that I've sat with it for a second, that spice is a little.
It's aggressive.
It's slightly off-putting, just slightly. I think it's because I want that like warm, friendly nature of like regular Lagavulin, and this is not that.
Right.
But it's just ever so slightly off-putting, and
Fair
it's after you've had a sip and you've let that sit for a second, and like there's just this like burn.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, like, to me, it's very reminiscent of like Red Hots and
Yes.
that kind of candy cinnamon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't disagree. Like it's aggressive. It's punchy.
And that bitter, man, it keeps sneaking in. Keeps sneaking in there, man. Like,
Yeah.
Wah. That's a bit of a roller coaster, I'm gonna say.
It's not friendly.
I see exactly what he means by this would pair perfectly with a steak, because you get that unctuous, steaky fattiness.
Sure.
I'm not talking like, filet. I'm talking like a chunky ribeye or something. Like, you got some fat.
What's interesting, like I would almost want my steak with no seasoning on it.
I'm gonna say a little salt.
Like maybe a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
But like if it's got any remotely like peppery kind of a thing,
Oh,
it's
you put
gonna
garlic
grab
on that?
hold of that.
Yeah, you're done.
Whew.
Yeah.
It's gonna light you up.
Yeah, you're done. It's gotta be basic. Like, that's normally how I like my steak anyway.
Right.
But it's gotta be just steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to
Yeah.
be over seasoned here.
No.
For it only to be 92.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like it punches, up there with some of those cask strength
Absolutely.
Ardbegs and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely
up
doing
there,
that.
man.
It's up there, especially with that bitter. It's that spicy bitter. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna think.
Woo.
I'm gonna think. I want to wait until we pair it against the Guinness cask, which was a favorite. See where that falls.
Yep.
Before we do that, though, what do you want to talk about this week?
Man, one of the most anticipated series finales
Yeah.
in the history of Dripping Stone just happened.
Ooh.
They wrapped up
Yeah.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
I know. I think the episode was May 25th is when it came out. Yep.
Yep.
So we're recording
Last
couple
day of
days,
May.
Yeah, a couple days after it.
Yep.
So you guys are actually going to hear this June 6th-ish. I think today's June 6th when this drops.
Right.
Is that how days work?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, you're going to hear this when you
When
like
you
right now.
hear it.
You're going to hear it right now.
Yeah,
'cause
you're
listening
hearing
to
it
us
right now, but we're not hearing it right now.
Right.
Although I guess we are hearing
Well, we're
it.
hearing it right now also, yeah.
Because we're hearing
all
our
in this
voices
together.
Yeah, exactly. My point is, it came out 2 weeks ago.
Just
Basically.
happened.
Yeah,
Just
basically.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very highly anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the last, I guess I started really getting into Maisel, I think, when the second season came out.
Yep.
I didn't watch the first season when it came out, but started watching it when the second season came out. And that was back when they would release, the whole thing right at once. Just boom. Here's Midge Maisel, Marvelous Miss Maisel, whole season. Boom.
Yeah.
You know, remember they used to do that.
I think
they used to do that.
I think it was the first and second season they did that. I think.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
Thanks Disney Plus. Which is really interesting because I watched my daughter and we watched it weekly as it came out. And then my mom, who's down visiting right now, also loves the show, hadn't watched any of it. And she binged
Of the fourth season?
Of the final season, the fifth season.
Yeah, fifth season, sorry.
Hadn't watched any of it because she didn't want to mess up the order and how it might play for us because stuff.
Sure.
Before the last episode, she binged the whole fifth season the day before and that morning of, so that we could all watch the last season together, or the last episode together. And it was really strange watching it that way
all
comparatively because there was no contemplation. And it was bizarre to watch it because they're watching it with her, everything just was like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Where when I was watching it with my daughter, like it was episode, contemplate, discuss, think about it for a week. Yep. Something new.
Yeah,
I think that made the filler episodes way more frustrating.
Yes, but I will say I like, in some instances, I like the return to that because I like that contemplation. I like I can't just play it right away. So how Carol and I watched it, we watched it, week to week, except, life's just gotten busy here in the last couple of weeks. So we had 3 episodes saved up going, including the final episode. So the final episode was episode 9, I think.
Yep.
And so we had 7, 8, and then 9 saved up. So we watched 7, 8 one day, and then we watched 9 the next.
Gotcha.
It wasn't the same experience, but I found myself in that going, I actually miss the weekly kind of thing. I miss that, like, watch the episode, think about what's going on, contemplate, move on.
It's a completely different experience.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just kind of like more what you're wanting, I guess.
Yep.
But it was noticeably different because like I remember like going through certain things and like when you have a revelation about something here and then you have to think about that for even just a week, like it still gives you time to think about that and live in that choice.
What's going on? It reminded me, did you watch Lost when it first came out?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So Lost when it first came out, this is early 2000s. It reminded me a lot of that. In that experience, in that like you got this episode and shit's happening and you're not going to get another episode for a week and you just got to like water cooler it with everybody right, or everybody who's going to listen. And it reminded me of that situation. It reminded me of the, kind of just like you said, contemplation, what's going on and what are they possibly doing here?
Right.
What mistakes are they making?
Right. I think when you have that time to think about it, it's just you race in your mind, or not race, but like you come up with all these answers to these things or different pathways that they could take it. So then when they finally do kind of choose an option, you then have to deal with that option.
And see,
where when you don't have the time to think about it and you're just automatically shown it, I think you lose something in the process.
But I think what you gain in that is that you're just along for the ride. And because you don't have that time to contemplate, you don't have the time to kind of do the what ifs.
Sure.
So then you're almost like not disappointed when your brilliant what ifs don't pan out. Or, the writers zigged and you zagged and like the zig was way better or was not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I think that there are merits to both.
Sure.
Generally I'm a binger. I like doing that.
Yep.
Because I like to be entertained.
Yep.
And so I will, and I'm notorious for doing this and have done this with Ted Lasso season 3.
Yep.
I haven't watched any of it yet.
Yep.
And I'm going to rectify that really soon, but just because I want to plow through it. I don't want to wait.
It's a shame. Yeah. Well, but I say that because I think where my issues with Maisel were kind of what you're saying.
Sure.
Of like, I came up with all these options of ways that they could go, and then where they ended up going with it was just kind of like either I didn't feel like we're satisfying or maybe even like too predictable.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ted going through the same thing, everything is like basically like better than what I could have come up with.
Right.
And so having the time to think about it and what are they going to do with that and how is that going to work out, the way that they finally end up showing you how they're going to do it is just kind of like, dang, I didn't even think of that as a possibility.
I contend that Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis, the other writers, like
just different.
They're just different. No, for sure. Like it's not the same kind of room. You know what I mean?
Oh no, so, I totally agree.
I think from here on out, we're going to spoil some things. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't seen Maisel and you're really interested in watching Maisel, we're glad you joined us thus far. We hope that you've gotten a dram along with us. You've had something to drink, but go watch Maisel. If you're okay with us discussing the 5th and final season of Maisel in depth, or to the depth that we discuss things, listen on. Dear listener, keep on listening on. Thoughts overall, outside of the, how we watched it. Did it land? Did it not land? What? Give me your thoughts.
I'll say overall, it was fine. Not the best season. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was the worst season, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed watching, getting back to know those characters and seeing them progress. But was it like overly satisfying the way that the first 3 seasons were?
Right.
Nah. I mean, I think the greatest thing that they do within this series is the settings that they provide.
Yeah.
They really create a depth of detail and story that really puts you into those spaces. Mm-hmm. And I love that so much. Like, I love the music choices that they use. Like, they really just nail the accuracy of the time period, or at least perceived.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not from the time period.
Yeah, this is what we think this time period was like.
It reminds me a lot of the way that I feel like they nailed it so well in Mad Men, mm-hmm. of just hitting that time period so specifically, and it's done with such vibrancy,
right,
in every way, that the colors pop so well, and the accents that everybody has are so specific, and it's just done so well that you really feel like you're a part of it and you're in it, and they do that so well, and that's why I think everybody loves this show, is just the amount of detail that they put into it.
Yeah, thought process.
Yeah,
for sure. For me, I look at the scope of whether or not this lands this season. I'm with you. Like, is it the best season? No. Is it the worst season? No. But because you're calling this the final season, this is the finale.
Yep.
I think about it like from the writer's perspective, and what is most difficult for me anyway about writing is the beginning and the end. How do I start this whole thing? How do I end this whole thing? I can fluff everything in the middle. I can go down tangents. I can, R.R. Martin my way into all this shit,
right,
and get people interested. But how do I wrap this up? And I think that to me, and I've said this before, and I will, this is a hill on which I will die. This is what American television's problem is ending things.
Right.
And it's providing an ending that is satisfactory for so many things, because you've written subplots on subplots and alleyways and these things and this other thing. They're like, how could you wrap something up so well and give everyone a satisfactory ending? So to me, the way you do that is you don't lean so far away that like people are dissatisfied, mm-hmm. but you kind of do I'm giving you just enough. I'm giving you the main storyline in this final season. I'm not trying to add anything new. I'm trying to wind things up, and I'm trying to line things up so that we can end this.
Right.
And I don't think they did that successfully, because in this final season, they set up even more conflict. And yet, you get to that final episode, to some degree, the conflict starts to just wash away. In that last 15 minutes of the final episode, mm-hmm. all the people that matter are in Gordon Ford's audience and are watching Midge Maisel, and those are the people that matter. Those are the people she cares about. Those are the people that are closest. That's what matters. So even though you've presented all these tangents and all these subplots, they kind of do start to come back around. Is it super successful? I don't think so. But again, how could it be?
Well, and I think what you're saying is so accurate, and it goes back to why I think what I thought was going to happen would have worked so well.
Which is?
Halfway through the season, what I thought they were doing, because this season, for some reason, narratively, they started adding in flash forwards.
Sure.
They would go 10 years, 15 years, 30 years into the future and show us glimpses of the future of these characters.
Correct.
And I thought halfway through, because every flash forward that we got was not a happy picture.
No.
We found out that basically Midge's kids grow up hating her. Mm-hmm. We found out that Joel, her ex-husband, ends up in prison.
Yep.
We find out that...
Presumably because of her in some way.
Yeah. Well, we find out that her and Susie go like 15 years without talking to each other.
Yep.
We find out that Midge gets married like 3 or 4 times and is just never happy. And it's just like... I was sold on that they're showing us this potential future for Midge, and at some point in time, she's going to realize what really makes her life happy is not this career, it's her family. And I think what you're saying of like the people who are important were in the room. She's doing a performance on TV,
right,
where she's talking to hundreds of thousands of people, but you never get any kind of a recognition of that.
Nope.
There's never a flash to like, hey, here's a family sitting at home watching this and being introduced to Miss Maisel.
Nope.
The lights go down and like there's a spotlight on her, and we are slowly like we see Abe and Rose, and we see Moish and Shirley. Like we see Joel, we see her friends, like we see Susie. And like that would have been like that would have been so good if they would have just in that moment, if she just would have realized that, oh, this big, huge, grand life that I'm dreaming of, that I want, isn't gonna be worth it because it's gonna take this away from me. That would have been beautiful.
But I think it would have been wrong.
Why?
Because that's too perfect.
Oh my god!
Hold on. Here's
right, we're gonna battle over this,
and that's okay.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Here's what I think. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that. Like, I like that. I like what you said. I like giving me some sort of satisfaction and knowing that there's a redemptive arc here. That she realizes that, and she realizes, like, I actually have the perfect life. It's right here in front of me.
Yeah.
But that's not how life works. Normally. That's what we want fairy tale life to work. That's how we want, this fantastical perspective to work. That you learn the lesson. And she does what any person in their right mind would do. She says it in that moment. She says, I want fame. I want something more. I want to be the most famous thing ever. Because that's what anyone would do. That's what people want. And so you've set up this whole like reaching and grasping for that. And she gets to some degree what she wants at the sacrifice of what she actually has. And I think that's the point of it. Like, you can have the fame, but you're going to sacrifice everything else for it. Because at the end, all those things, those flashbacks are true. All those things that she's gone through, the miserable time, they're all true.
Right.
That's kind of the ramifications of this decision. And I think that is more the realist, and that's the more reality-driven perspective. And we see this in all celebrities. Maybe not all. Maybe that's being a little too harsh and judgmental. But we see this in celebrities.
Yeah. I mean, again, to me, yes, that is reality. Nothing else about this show is reality. So I just don't understand why you're going to choose the after part of the show, not the show that we've been given 5 seasons of that did not exist in reality. I don't know what the Catskills were like, but they were not that.
Right.
That is not what happened. Like, it was not that idealistic and beautiful and perfect.
I have a kind of writer answer for that. Didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I think that because the way the show is written, and our protagonistic perspective is Midge Maisel, we believe along with her. So we kind of have these rose-colored glasses of the fantasy of what she's trying to achieve. So we want to believe that the Catskills were like this. We know that they weren't. We want to believe that New York was like this in the late 50s, early 60s. We know that it wasn't. But we want to believe that because she wants to believe in this perfection. So then when we finally get to that stage, that Gordon Ford stage, we want to believe in the big break. We want to believe in the pinnacle because that's what we've been forced to believe because we're seeing all of this through Midge's eyes. And then that flash forward to 2005 at the end is when the veil is kind of lifted and we see, again, the ramifications of these decisions. So now you're thrust, and I don't disagree with you. I think it's absolutely jarring. You're thrust in this reality and you go like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not the show that I've signed up for, because that's her realizing it too. Because the entire perspective of writing wise is that you see all of this through Midge's perspective. Because that's what the writing does. It endears us to Midge.
But they don't show her understanding it. Does she,
Yeah.
do they show her understanding that Joel's in prison protecting her and keeping her away from the mob? Does she?
I don't know.
They don't. I'll tell you, they don't. We don't get to experience that with her. It's shown in a flashback, in a couple of flashbacks,
Sure.
but we don't ever see her. Like, she gets pissed off, and that ends up being why she doesn't talk to Susie for however long. And so we see how upset she is there, but there she's upset with Susie.
Right.
And it's not a recognition of like, wow, this man just sacrificed his freedom
For you.
for me.
Right.
To protect me.
I think
So I don't think they show her walking through her empty penthouse overlooking Central Park. But even in that, like, she doesn't look upset and sad and lonely and distraught over it. It just looks like this is just my day today.
Yeah, but the way they film it, like filmically, she is in this like magnificent penthouse, and she's alone, and she walks by the dining room table. It's set up for like 30 people.
I know, and I understand that.
Yeah.
We get it.
But
you're saying that like
I see what you're saying.
we're experiencing it with her, but I don't think they're showing her experience it.
No, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where they lift the veil from us, and now we realize. Maybe I said too much in terms of like the character realizes. I think it's we realize the fantasy is over. And where does she sit at the very end?
On the couch.
But where? Not in like that grand ballroom or that like huge,
some random.
It's just like, it's almost like a closet.
Right.
It kind of looks like the bedroom that she had in Abe and Rose's house. Like, it's small. It's like a little couch.
Bottle of Blanton's on the table.
Carol pauses and she's like, "You see what that is?" I'm like, "Fuck, Blanton's."
I'd noticed that a couple times.
Yeah, it was all throughout the season. Yeah. And so, like, she got the thing. Does she see it as like, I accomplished all of it, and these are just like, this is what had to happen for me to get here? I don't know. And I think, like, to me, that's both the positive and the sad aspect of like that final 15 minutes.
I guess I would be more accepting of it, and I'd be more on board with it if we needed more of a trajectory to that.
Sure.
We were never, for 4 seasons, we were never approached with anything of, hey, Midge going for this thing could end up bad.
Correct.
It was always suggested of like, she can do it. We're behind her. I believe in her. She's gonna do this.
Bruce believes in you.
Yeah. She's gonna do it. I just can't wait to see her do it.
Right.
So, to get to the last episode and come to the realization of like, she did it, but it sucked. Like the flash forward of at one of her weddings where she realizes, you know what, I can't do this.
I don't want to marry this dude.
Like, again, there's no realization in her of what this is all doing to her.
Right.
It's more of a realization for Susie to see how, again, Susie is doing the thing for you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't find it satisfying in any way to know that this isn't going to work out in the future.
Yeah.
I wish they would have given us the season in 8 episodes and then give us that 9th episode that were all the flash forwards later on.
That's a good idea. That
we could have then looked at it and said, yes, I think that that's what happened. Or I could be like, fuck that. I don't think that's how it happened.
It's not part of canon.
Yeah. I just think that's your take on it. Sure. But I think she did the thing that night. She got her big shot, and then she goes on and has a fantastic career.
See, and I agree completely. I think that in so many ways, Maisel is guilty, again, of what is the American television machine, or maybe just television machine in general. It's like you do too much. You over-explain. You didn't end in the right spot. There were so many points in the season, even with all the loose ends, that you could have ended it, and to me would have been even more satisfactory.
Well, what I came up with, what I feel like they tried to do is say Maisel went on and ran like a soap opera.
Sure.
And ran for 20 seasons. Something crazy.
Grey's Anatomy.
If we had gotten to that point, but we had seen everything each season
right
to get to that point, maybe all that works.
Yeah.
Maybe all of those things make sense. Like maybe season 13, when Joel went to prison, was crazy.
Yeah.
It was an epic season. And that's when they had to write Joel out because that actor got a cast in a Marvel movie, so they had to put him in prison. You know, like if we would have seen all of the events that took place to get to those things,
sure.
all of those flash forwards to me felt like, yeah, maybe like when they were in the temple and the FBI comes in, that was probably the season finale for season 13.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what that felt like. And then Susie and Midge have that big fight, and we're done.
Yeah.
And then for 5 seasons, they didn't talk to each other, but we kept up with them. You know, we knew what Susie was doing, we knew what Midge was doing, and they were so close so many times of like meeting each other, but they never did until the roast season, the season that ended on the season finale of Susie's roast.
Right.
Like I could see how that could work, and that's what they felt like to me, is that she was trying to give us these moments from seasons in the future that we're never going to get. That. Maybe that would have been epic to see it play out that way. And then when we did finally get to that thing of them reconnecting after it was all said and done, and we see how sad Midge was, then there's a lot of impact.
Yes.
But to try to give that to us at the end of season 5 when Midge is just getting started didn't work.
See,
to me.
Okay, what is this story about? Like from beginning to our finale, what is this story about?
Midge becoming a comedian,
getting her break, becoming a comedian.
Yeah.
I almost don't like, if you look at it like this is our story, that is our main timeline, if you will.
Yeah.
I need you to get from point A of she's on the stage, she takes off her top, comedian now, to Gordon Ford's show.
Yeah.
That's where I need you to get me. Everything else kind of becomes ancillary, if you will.
Right.
And so if I look at it from that perspective, did you get me from point A to point B? You did. I think you got me there. But am I satisfied because of how many of those other things that you just mentioned happened? And you had to do it because you don't have 20 seasons. You had to do it in 6 episodes because you didn't. And again, unless you're Marvel, could you plan for that? You didn't start setting that up in season 1. You know what I mean? I don't think there is an answer necessarily. I think it's just, it's a product of, okay, we've got to figure out how to end this. What do we do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the 5th season is going to be the final season. Whereas I think that shows that have a full arc created before going into it, or a pretty solid, like, this is how we're going to end this, I think generally have stuck the landing a little better.
Well, and I wondered too, like, did they do this to put a finality on it, to where, look, we've shown you what happens to Midge and Susie all the way up to 2005.
Yep.
So y'all can hush down about, you know, hey, maybe they'll come and do a Marvelous Miss Maisel movie at some point in time that shows us what happened to Midge after the Gordon Ford show. Maybe they'll, you know, in 5 years they're going to do season 6.
Yep. I'll tell you why.
I think that's why they did it. It was just a boom, this is done.
I'll tell you why. Because Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino, because of their experiences with Gilmore Girls, I think that's why they did it this way.
Yeah.
Because Gilmore Girls, they did not have anything to do with that last season, so it didn't end the way they wanted it to end. So they felt like they had to do a year in the life, which they did 10, 15 years later, and they redid that, or they kind of gave you the ending that you wanted. So I think this was the answer to that. I think you're 100% right. Like, you could get all these people back together, and you could do, like, you know, Midge in Las Vegas and her stint in Vegas or whatever, even though you kind of already did that with season, was it 3, I think? Do you need to redo all of that? Probably not. So let's figure out how do we present that contingency, and I think that's the way to do it. I'm not saying that that's a great way.
I think that's a way. I don't think it's the way to do it.
That's what they had to do to just avoid that.
Man.
So I think for me, and knowing the two of them as writers and producers, directors, I think to some degree it's about female empowerment.
Well, that's what I always thought it was too, until this last season.
But I think the last season becomes like the unfortunate realist perspective of female empowerment, and she mentions it in that 4 minutes that takes 12 minutes.
What does she say?
She talks about being a female comic and what that entails, and having to stand up to men, and having to fight for all of my things, having to do all of this, and she gets what she wants. Again, you flash forward to Susie in another time zone halfway across the world, presumably, and they're watching Jeopardy.
Yeah, and it feels like you're undoing it.
Yeah, it's this hollow kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, are you saying like that it's not worth it?
I don't know.
You know?
Yeah.
Like that bothered me too. And like I hated so much that Susie said it like the third to last episode. I think it was the episode The Princess and the Plea. Mm-hmm. At the end of that episode, Midge finds Susie in Grand Central Station. And again, it's a beautiful scene.
But
like it puts you right in that spot. And when you've been there, and you're like, God, that is a beautiful setting. And like, I'm in it. But so she goes to Susie and she says, Susie, I know that you know Hattie.
Yep.
Gordon Ford's wife. I know that you have some sort of relationship, like you know her somehow.
Uh-huh.
I need you to have her beg for her to put me on the show because she has pull.
Do the manager thing now.
And Susie tries to explain to her there, like, I can't do it. And why would you want me to? Like, why would you want this to be the way that you get your big break? Through begging for somebody to make it happen for you. And then Midge makes the thing like, well, that's your job. You're my manager, you're my agent. You do whatever it takes. I totally agreed with Susie 1,000% on that. Of like, I don't like that this is how you're doing it. This show has never, it's never been about that. Like, you know, a season ago, you were like, I will not be a opening act for anybody, regardless who it is. I am only a headliner. And now you're begging her to have somebody push you in. Like, I just didn't like that.
Oh,
like,
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Make it about you earned that shit. That's what the whole series has been about, is Midge earning her way through this thing and making it happen. Make it better than her begging somebody. And then when she finds out that, yes, this person was somebody that I've had very difficult issues with, and then she apologizes, and it's like, fuck that. You should have listened to her when she told you that the first time. You can't apologize now and say, if I would have known, I wouldn't have had you do that.
Yeah.
No, that's crap now because you made her do it.
I agree. And I think they try to provide that redemptive, that thing of a bit of redemption in that way, in that Gordon Ford, who is a
Johnny Carson.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. Johnny Carson kind of character, which I actually really love that character. I think he's a great character.
I do too. I really liked him. He's super charismatic.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it was all at like 30 Rock.
Fit that perfectly.
Yeah.
Like that's what I imagine a Johnny Carson kind of character to be.
Yeah.
He makes the decision, no. I'm bringing you on not as a comic, but as a lady writer.
Yeah.
That's
Not even
how I'm gonna
say
do
your
that.
name.
Yeah. Just lady writer.
One of my lady writers.
Right. And she then makes a decision to screw the system. I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm going to do it. I think they try to redeem that a little bit. Like, nope, she's still there.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Like that line of Susie saying, this is how this whole thing got started.
Yeah.
Is you being on a stage that you weren't supposed to be.
Right.
I loved that. And that was fantastic.
Correct.
So if it had been something of like, I think it would have been so much better when she went and did the test for the other show.
Yeah.
If he would have said like, yeah, I like it. I want you on my show.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gordon Ford would have been like, fuck the rule. You're going to go on my show first.
Right.
But he tries to do the same thing, you know, and tries to try to take that away from her, that it's like,
that would
but
have
it's
been
his idea.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to put you on. And then it's the same. You play it out the exact same way. She thinks she's coming on as a comic.
Yep.
Well, no. It's not going to be as a comic. I'm going to highlight you as my writer.
Right.
and then she does the exact same thing.
That would have been that would have been far more satisfying because you're right.
She earned it.
She earned it.
You know?
I performed for Jack Parr. Yeah.
Yeah.
I performed for Jack Parr. He wanted me on, but Gordon, nope, he needs the Emmy ratings.
Or
he had to beat Jack.
He can't fit me on until September.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're going to beat it. We're going to get you in now.
We're going to get you in now. And
she
then
thinks she's coming on to be a comic.
That would have been so much better.
I know.
That would have been so much better.
Yep.
Because you're right. It would have stuck that female.
And it would have been so much more devastating for us that
she's got it. She's got it.
She finally did it. And he's going to take that shit away from her.
Yeah. Oh man.
But then she takes it right back from him.
Yep.
Oh, that would have been great.
That would have been so good. Okay. So what about real quick, the kind of do you feel like it was a satisfactory ending for the other characters? Like, did they allow that to breathe, or does it just kind of not matter at that point?
Hated it. The only ones that I was satisfied with the ending, I guess, I like the way they tied up Zelda.
Yeah,
you know,
I thought that was
she got married, and there's this weird awkwardness between the husband and the or not the Maisels, but the Rose and Abe.
The
Weissmans.
Janusz.
And then I liked Moish and Shirley. I liked their tie-up of how they had this weird thing in the bathroom and laid there in the shower injured for hours. I liked that they finally reconnected and we're good again.
Yeah.
Everything else sucked.
I agree.
Don't like the way we're just I think there was such a really deep, poignant conversation that Abe has with a couple of other guy friends at a bar restaurant that was really deep.
Yeah.
Talking about aging but understanding your kids and all kinds of stuff. Such a great conversation that he had, but we don't ever see anything from that.
Yep.
There's the briefest little thing of him being excited to go watch Midge that he's never done before. He's always been very reclusive and very avoiding her and her comedy and not wanting to see it and not wanting to be a part of it. But then to find out that there was the briefest little moment of it.
Yeah.
Not enough. I needed so much more of him being proud of her and accepting of her and just flat out loving her.
Right.
Needed so much more of that. Rose, I think they were just we don't care.
That whole subplot of Jewish matchmaker thing was thrown out the window really quick. It was always kind of there in the background because that's what she's kind of doing the entire season. But it just got weird because that was a major plot point in season 4.
Well, and you go back to season 2 when she goes to Paris and you see this depth to Rose.
Yeah.
And then you find out she's from Texas. Again, amazing depth to this character for them to just throw her out and give her nothing.
And in the last episode, basically give Mama whatever she wants. She's kind of losing it, and this is how clearly she's on the path to dying.
Alzheimer's,
give her whatever,
losing her mind.
Yeah,
same thing with Joel.
Yeah,
just nothing.
But
you go to jail. Sorry, man.
But I think the arc for Joel I found actually pretty satisfying. Not for him, but for obviously Maisel. For Midge, the character, Joel realizes maybe his role is sacrificing for her. I'm not saying that this is a great perspective for him, but when she's on the Gordon Ford show and he's in the audience and he's whatever you need, I am behind you, whatever you need. I think that's a little bit of the kind of redemptive part of him, or the tying up of his perspective, because basically this whole thing started because he slept with the secretary.
Sure.
And there's that understanding of whatever you need.
But I think we already got that, and I think that's why it's disappointing to me.
I agree.
We got that 2 seasons ago.
I agree.
So that's why it bothers me of just that from the point that he goes and finds out from Susie, I think it's in season 3 or something like that, what was going on, and stepped in and paid some huge debt that she had for gambling stuff so that Midge wouldn't get in trouble. I think we were already to that point. And there were so many moments leading up to it, and there's this great moment that they have right before she goes on the show where she says something like, have I ever said how amazing you are?
Yeah.
And he says, you have plenty of times and way more than I deserve.
Yeah.
And that was great. But I feel I don't know. I feel there's if there was Midge and Susie are the two main characters. The next one is Joel.
Agreed.
And so for us not to have some sort of a
satisfying
end to his story that was just more than Midge, because they still love each other.
Yeah.
They're a couple of episodes before that they had this moment where
in the flash forward she touches the picture of the two of them on their wedding day.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that we know that he's going to end up in prison for how many years, it's just kind of like, damn. I mean, I guess that's just like, their way of saying like, yeah, anybody that cheats, fuck them. Like no excuses. I guess I don't know. That was just, to me, that was a very unsatisfying end for Joel, to not have a better moment. I don't know.
I would be interested, and I'm not going to do this like right now, but maybe in a couple of years, going back and watching the whole thing straight through.
Yeah.
And like, does it work? Did it work?
Did you see that? There's like, after the 9th episode, when you're looking at it on Prime, there's a trailer for the 5th season. There's something else, and then there's a third thing, and that third thing is a 4-minute or 5-minute clip of the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it starts from the first episode.
Yeah, I think that was
and takes you through the whole thing. Goes through the Catskills. Goes through the whole thing. Goes to Paris.
That was like hey, remember everything that we've done? Here we go.
Yeah. And that was great.
Yeah.
Like just that. Like it's I think you get too focused on like that episode sucked and the fact that was the final episode. Bullshit. But when you go back and you look at the whole thing,
right,
it's like down point. And that's the whole thing is pretty damn good.
And I think that's the problem too with like time spans, in terms of like the first season to now has been 6 years,
right?
Like, or longer than that. So you've had some thoughts.
Yeah. And like time wise, like that was the thing that watching it with my mom, when she saw the plea at Grand Central to being offered the spot on the show was like instantaneous.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit. Like you don't even get like me and Lorelai sit here and debated for like ever of like how she's going to get on the show. And like, is that going to work? Or is Susie going to chicken out and not actually talk to the lady? Like that, there was so much into that, so much worry of like how that was going to happen. And then like, it was for you, it was just like, bam, bam. I was like, oh,
no process.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, I could unpack this for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
But we have another
more
bottle.
Interesting things to do.
Well, we've got other interesting things to do. I'm going to crack into this bottle of the Lagavulin Offerman edition, the Guinness Cask edition.
Do it.
Okay. Are you ready?
So ready.
That was in there.
Yeah, it was.
Like, the cork is dry.
Ooh, glad that one didn't break off.
I know.
Gracias.
De nada. All right, so we've already done this one, Kyle. So let's just kind of go back, talk about it a minute. And I want to pair it against the charred oak cask.
Alrighty.
All right, the Guinness cask on the nose.
Man, it's totally just like, marketing. But like I feel like there's more of like a barley character.
No, I don't think it's marketing. I think it's definitely there.
Like there's just something that's more grain forward.
Yeah, it's definitely well-rounded. Like there are no spiky edges. Go back to that charred cask. You can smell the threads between the two, but there are some spiky edges on that charred cask.
Yeah, the charred cask is that buttery note is still jumping forward as like the thing that's different. That honeysuckle butter. But the charred oak, the Guinness cask has this more like of a barley grain, like toasted character to it.
Yep. All right, I'm going in. I can't help myself. Oh, dear God. That is delicious. I'll tell you what it is. It's the sweet note. That sweet note, because you still get, it's Lagavulin.
Yep.
But it's that sweet note.
Yeah.
That
like
just
dark brown sugar.
Exactly. Just sets it apart. And you don't get all that like just weird, bitey, super bitter.
Yeah. I mean, it's still got the bitter. It's still there, but it's not aggressive the same way.
Oh. Went back to the charred oak. It's aggressive. 100. There's no other way to say it. Aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, they all mingle together. Like they're all very relatable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that the charred oak's got this like spice and bitter it's just aggressive.
Yeah. And again,
it's punchy.
Off-putting in some ways. The Guinness cask is just freaking delightful.
Yep.
Agreed?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they got something special.
I think it's a shade better.
I'm on the fence with the charred oak. I don't think it's the best expression I've had, but it's not in and of itself. It's not bad.
Yeah, I couldn't use the words off-putting. It's aggressive. It's punchy, but like sometimes that's just what you need
To be punched.
Sometimes.
Yakking a fool.
No, like sometimes you need an aggressive, punchy drink.
It hurts my belly. It hurts my belly. I know. I got sensitive tummy. I took a sip and I was like, ah. Well, on that note, you got anything else?
Nope. You?
I got a little bit left in my glass. I'm going to finish it real quick. Give me a second. Notice that I went for the Guinness cask. Oh, you're going to mix them? Brilliant, man.
I think I differ from you I don't think they're demonstrably different. I think they're relatively close. Like definitely obviously from the same concept, same idea, but I definitely would give the edge to the Guinness.
No, I agree. But I think like it's a matter of nuance and it's a matter of degrees.
Yep.
And again, this is where we are in our whiskey journey. And this is where we are as, I think, whiskey experts at this point of like tasting all this stuff. And for me, the charred cask is just not landing right now. Again, that could change tomorrow.
Right.
So leave me a little bit and I'll try tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. No, Kyle, I do not have anything else that I can think of.
Same. Well, on that note,
we want to know what you think about the Lagavulin Nick Offerman edition, the charred oak cask.
yeah. Or like what other variations of Lagavulin have you had that were like just spot on amazing?
Yeah, I've heard there's some distillery picks that are like fantastic.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Just like based off of that special stuff that Dahi sent us that were from different things. Like I can only imagine what like miraculous barrels exist of things that will never ever reach the shelves of liquor stores that are just like, they're just special and only for select elite.
So when we make it big time,
individuals.
well, what we need to do is just buy individual casks or several distilleries. Why not?
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. We also want to know what you think about the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, season 5.
Yeah, specifically, did it end well for you? Did you like the ending? Left on a high note? Or were you just kind of, left wanting more?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can get in touch with us through email. It's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Drep and Stone, DREP and Stone. Come find us wherever you like to media your socials. Like a thing, comment on things, share a thing, and we'd be appreciative of all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love it if you support the podcast. You can do that in 3 ways that I'm aware of, unless you got more.
I don't think so.
Well, I'm just going to say the 3 ways that we know of anyway.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. The first way is you can join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/drepandstone. A lot of really cool things going on there. We're doing some bottle pours. We're doing some travel stuff. We're doing a couple episode notes. And we're just kind of working through, seeing what works best for everybody. And yeah, we're super excited. And we got some, Kyle, we just got some new stickers in.
No shit.
Yeah, we're sending those out to patrons soon, or we've already sent them out. I don't know which.
Stickerology.
Yeah. Oh, they're. Well, I don't want to ruin it, but they're fancy stickers.
Dang.
Yeah. So yeah, come join us there, and hopefully we can get together for a pour via, some sort of like Google Hangout or Google Meetup at some point, and we're working towards that too.
Totally.
Yeah. You can also support the podcast by rating Drep and Stone wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. And finally, Kyle,
Last way.
you can support the podcast by telling someone about Drep and Stone.
Yeah, just by word of mouth.
You're surfing the interwebs.
Okay.
Yeah, and you come across a Reddit post about Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Right.
And then you type into that subreddit, because you're at this point you're in subreddit, you know what I mean? And you're like, hey, Drep and Stone did an episode on Marvelous Miss Maisel. They had thoughts.
Yeah.
Most of which you can disagree with if you'd like.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Just word of mouth.
Yeah.
That simple.
Indeed.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your marvelous ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
I'm just glad you finally noticed. Cheers.
Can't trust Lagavulin.
Can't trust Nick Offerman.
Yeah. Stupid. Booyah.
Offerman against Offerman.
Yeah. What is Melissa McCarthy doing on a whiskey
I
magazine?
don't know. I haven't read it yet. I saw it came
What
in. It came in like 2 weeks ago, and I just haven't had a chance to read it.
Another celebrity whiskey.
That's it. There's a couple articles on Dead Rabbit and Talnua. Some articles on Talnua in there, and I'm interested. I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I'd love to try it. Talnua.
I still have a whistle. That's a big ass callus. That ain't no bunion.
Oh, gotcha.
That's not a second toe. That's just a callus. It's so
His
scary.
twin that he killed at birth. He got one sniff of that Lagavulin. He's like, shit, I'm out.
He smelled the Offerman edition.
He took 2 thumps
yeah.
from us, and he's right here on the end of your microphone.
Well,
Okay.
just put it right there. So wow. Are you got a shirt pocket? And get a little nipple biz. And our watching Midge. Yeah, that Guinness cask. That's where it's at right there. Keep on listening now.